When Taylor Swift said, "He looks up grinning like a devil, it's blue," she probably wasn't talking about the ice planet Barbarians penis, but you can never be sure. Hello and welcome to the Bookering Pod. I'm Katie.
Hi, I'm Tawny.
And we are podcasters. Yes, indeed.
We are. Yes, we're good at it too. Don't worry about it.
That was not convincing, but we are podcasters. Tawny, if you were stranded on an ice planet, what would you do?
I would probably hook up with an alien.
Wow. An original thought from Tawny here today. Incredible. But
I'm just trying to set the tone.
Set the tone.
We both
Setting
have some creature porn to talk about today, and so this is what the tone is.
Oh no. Well, hello to our listeners. If you're new, which you probably are, given this is our first real podcast. I'm Katie, this is Tawny. We're two friends who like to bicker about books. Every month we do a recap of all of the books we've read every month. We do a short review and we discuss the books we've both read. And it's just like a nice time. And we hope that get some time. Yeah, we have fun, and that's what matters.
That is what matters. Sometimes we're off the rails, but don't worry about it.
We're working on it. We have an outline. We have time limits. We have notes. We're professionals.
We're prepared.
We're prepared this time. But yeah, so if you're not having fun, that's okay. We are. Just don't tell us, because our feelings will be hurt. So
I'll be absolutely crushed.
Emotionally devastated. Tawny, to start us off the bat, just like tell me how much did you read this month? You probably read just like 3 books or something, right? Because
you know what? I read that and then I multiplied it by 4 and I read 12. Honestly, I feel like that's about an average number for me per month. That was not the case anytime before 2021, but now here in the year of our Lord 2021, I am reading approximately like 8 to 12 books per month.
Just an incredible reader. Such speed. How
many books did you read this month?
I read 6, which is, you know what? That's average for me too. A good number.
That is a good amount of books to read in a month.
It's a good amount of books to read a month. It was almost 7, but then I got distracted by the internet, as one does. So we'll just stick with 6. Tawny, I would love for you to tell me about the first book this month.
Okay, so I am going to be talking about 3 books at the same time here. I read From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And so jokes on me, I thought that this was simply a trilogy. It's not. Apparently there's going to be like 6 books, but I did read the 3 that are released up to right now. I'm not going to do spoilers for books 2 and 3, so most of this is going to be about the first book and then just some general impressions of the next 2. But basically, this is some horny fantasy content. That's what these books are about. They're about being horny for vampires specifically. So Poppy, who is our main character, she is, quote, the Maiden. She has been chosen from birth as a kind of savior to be given over to the gods as part of an ascension. This is gibberish. Don't worry about it.
I'm making a face right now, just letting everyone know.
This doesn't make a ton of sense in the books. It doesn't make a ton of sense as I repeat it back to you. This is just the situation. Part of being the Maiden is that she is required to remain pure. No one is it's real gross. No one is allowed to touch her, talk to her or even look at her face. She has to wear a veil at all times, and thus she is incredibly sheltered. Her only close relationships are with her maid. Katie, what do you think her maid's name is? Take any guess.
Den, so it's like a maiden. Wouldn't that be funny?
You know what? That's real cute. Her maid's name is Tawny. And let me tell you about how thrilling it was to have my weird name be so heavily represented in a novel. This has never happened to me before. And here we are. Sorry, it's very exciting for me.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. Wow.
This is the thing that you get to experience, and it was completely novel for me. And anyways, so her only close relationships are with her maid Tawny and her guard Victor, who's like the only father figure in her life. And he's been teaching her in secret how to fight and defend herself. The story starts with Poppy, who is sneaking out of the Duke's castle where she lives in the middle of the night to visit sort of a den of iniquity. It's like a gambling hall, brothel, etc. While there, she notices Victor enter the building and she has to hide in a random room to avoid being caught. She finds the room is already occupied by a man who, due to mistaken identity shenanigans, they hook up. He's called away.
What?
Yeah.
What?
This is the first like 10 pages.
Wait, what? But she's vowed to not hook up.
Yeah.
What?
She doesn't like the constraints of being the maiden.
I mean, sure, okay.
Yeah, she's there in disguise. It's mistaken identity. He's like, he thinks she's someone else. They make out, and she's just like, is down. They don't. Before they get very far, though, he's called away, and she sneaks back home. So the mysterious man from the brothel turns out to be Hawk, a palace guard, and due to circumstances, he is shortly thereafter assigned to be her personal guard.
I thought you were gonna say is hot, and I was like, yeah, I would assume.
Yeah. His name is Hawk, like the bird, but he's also apparently quite hot physically.
Sure, of course.
Sure. Yeah. As most romance heroes would be, I suppose. Anyway, so he's her personal guard. She's extremely paranoid that he's going to recognize her and turn her in to the Duke and Duchess and be found unworthy by the gods. But she also just continues to have a massive crush on him, and like the story proceeds from there. This is a romance novel pretending to be a high fantasy novel. So this book is mainly about that relationship dynamic. Does he know who she is? Will they hook up again? You get it. I'm not going to go too deep into like the world building and the political stuff because it's basically it's convoluted nonsense. But I'm going to give you like the vibe, and it's so we're in the kingdom of Salif. Families are required to give over their second-born children to the king and queen to become the ascended. Hint: these are vampires. The number one threat the kingdom is facing are the Craven. These are hordes of humans turned into mindless, violent demons who are made by being bitten. These are also vampires. They're a different kind of vampire. There are political tensions as the Dark One, who's the leader of the Atlanteans, and some believe the rightful ruler of the kingdom, vows to rise up and reclaim his throne. Pop quiz, what do you think the Atlanteans are?
The Atlanteans?
The Atlanteans, what are they?
Well, I'd say they're like mermaids, but because of Atlantis, but are they werewolves instead?
They're a third kind of vampire.
There's just a lot of vampires. Okay.
There's a third breed of vampire.
I was raised by Stephanie Meyer, so I assume that all mystical creatures are feuding against each other and not. Okay, I see.
That would, you know what? That would it sure would make more sense, wouldn't it? There are werewolves as well, but mostly there are just like at least 3 kinds of vampires and then other variations thereupon. But yeah, there are wolves and stuff, don't worry about it. Listen, I had a good time.
I was led to think by your Goodreads reviews that you were perhaps not having a good time.
No, we're still talking about the first book.
I'm sorry.
I continued to have a good time up until the end of this book, regretfully. So there's a big twist at the end, and I was accidentally spoiled for the twist, so I did know what was coming. But I do think that maybe I would have figured it out even if I hadn't been spoiled, because it was not subtle. This is not, it's not good, and I cannot in good conscience recommend this, but it's fun. It's fun in the way that ACOTAR is fun. It's steamy and it's like dramatic and angsty. So like if you're trash like I am,
I'm also a trash. I am a trash can. So yeah. So, okay.
I cannot conclude this discussion on the first book without mentioning. So I don't even like melon in general. I do not. But honeydew is absolutely ruined for me from here on out. There's a lot of sex in this book. There's a medium amount of sex in this book. There's a lot of sex in the next two books. And the first time that the love interest goes down on our fair heroine, he is like, just like I imagined. Honeydew.
No!
And then he just like friggin' continues to do it. Every time he goes down on her, he's like, oh yeah, honeydew. Sir.
No.
Sir, it's terrible. 4 stars. 2 from 1 and a half. It's an uncomfy 4 stars from me. So our second book is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. This came out in 2020. This is bad. It's bad. And like as someone who enjoyed the first book, and like I said, I'm not going to spoil what goes on because everything really hinges on the twist at the end of the first one, and I don't want to spoil that for you. So yeah, it's basically the first, I want to say 200 pages of this book. So like I think it's like a 600-page book. So like the first third of this book is them just like identifying a thing that they need to talk about. Like, hey, we got to talk about this. And the other person's like, yeah, we do, but like later. And then they never talk about the thing. It's just like there's so much that they need to talk about, and they never ever do. There's nothing happening in this book. There's nothing. There's one battle, but it's like not important. And then the other like 90% of this book is nothing happening. The other 10% is Jennifer L. Armentrout saying, we don't do love triangles here. We do threesomes. And that is what this book is here specifically to set up a throuple. That is what this book is about.
Oh my god.
And you know what? Maybe I'm not against a throuple, but it's such a weird vibe. There are no events in this book. Nothing happens. The third book,
it sounds like a lot happens.
It does. You know what? It does. Okay, so 2 stars from me for A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. The third book, The Crown of Gilded Bones, that came out this year. And I thought I was going to reach the conclusion of this tale, and I did not. And so, okay, this one had way more plot than the second one, and probably more plot than the first one. And more sex somehow. This book is packed full of plot and sex. So it was better than the second one. I don't plan to continue
You're a completionist. You're a completionist.
I am a completionist. The thing is, though, my girl JLA is giving me time to distance myself. The next book's not out yet. This means that I can disassociate and not feel compelled to continue, potentially. Well, we're gonna see.
This podcast is actually sponsored by dissociation. Dissociation.
Yes.
Separate yourself from your troubles.
Exactly. It's our slogan. So I guess hold me to it, dear listener.
So you recommend the first one.
I do. And
you don't recommend the second one. The third one better. So this is how I'm going to take it, is that I'm just going to wait until they all come out and then probably binge read it in like a week.
Honestly,
years from now.
Move. That's absolutely the move. Because I was like, even when I wasn't enjoying it, I was still just like devouring it. So there's that. And like, okay, what I will say is that Jennifer L. Armentrout is very good at like ramping things up in the final 100 pages to like, it makes you, and each book ends on a cliffhanger. And so it's like, well, I gotta continue. And so she's very good at that. So I am glad that the full series has not been released yet, because if there was a fourth book out right now, I would be talking about it here on this podcast right now. There are two things that I want to point out that one that I loved and one that I had trouble with. One is that these are erotic novels that are dressed up as fantasy. So there's a point in here where this sheltered maiden character is like, she sneaks into the library and she steals books all the time, and she steals this random like sex diary written by some vampire or whatever. This happens in the first book. The whole rest of the series, everyone is like shaming her for reading this sex diary and like consistently making fun of her. So like, that is a choice. That is a wild choice. I do not love it. I, in fact, hate it. A thing that I did love in the third book, there is, in fact, one sexy boot removal scene, which, let me tell you, everyone, our love interest is the number one Riley Finn stan out here, removing boots before sex, really, really slowly.
What a niche reference. Oh man. Oh my god.
I died. So 3 stars for Crown of Gilded Bones. 3 stars for the boot removal.
Oh man. Wow. Wow. Well, thank you, Tawny. I'm excited to read this in it'll be done in like 3 years,
probably. Yeah, she's turning them out pretty quickly. I think 2 came out in 2020. So
okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. So that sounds like a time. I'm not gonna say good, it just sounds like a time.
Yeah, it is in fact a time. I went on a journey.
Yeah. Okay. Incredible. So we do in fact have ourselves quite a romance / smut filled month. So content warning for the entire podcast, probably.
Yeah, just a lot of preacher porn is what's happening.
Just in general sex, because I exclusively read romances this month. So my first book this month is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, which originally came out in 2016. This is like the most standard contemporary rom-com I've ever read in my entire life. Like, fits literally every trope to a T. So just some like plot here. Lucy, she's short, curvy, twee, Smurf collecting, book loving, executive assistant at a publishing house. Tawny's laughing but is on mute.
I'm thrilled with this description. This is hitting like every rom-com for dummies bullet point that exists. I love it.
Joshua Templeton is also an executive assistant who their office setup is she here, desk he hear desks stare at each other for some reason. Could not tell you why, but this is the setup. And he is tall, surly, dark, handsome, insufferable, hates joy, hates fun, coworker.
I can change him.
This is his MO. So Lucy and Joshua worked at two separate publishing houses that merged. So Lucy's was more of like, you're like, we love books and we're going to take care of them like babies and see them get published. And Joshua's was like, money, yes. The cash dollars, please, indeed. So they're executive assistants to the like co-CEOs of this publishing house. They hate each other. No secret to anyone. Everyone knows that they hate each other. And things only change and tensions rise when they're both up for the same promotion. Oh no. So it is
what would happen?
What could possibly happen? So it's like the most classic enemies to lover novel at a publishing house, the most caricaturistic characters begging to be a Hallmark movie or a Netflix rom-com, just simply begging for it. I had a great time. For me, the beginning was difficult to get into because like the hating part, which is like the first 50 to 80 pages where it's just like, I hate this person, felt so cartoonish and over the top. And it was like hard to buy into the premise and the characters because it just felt so ridiculous. And I have an excerpt to read aloud for you. So this is
a treat. Oh my goodness. Okay.
This is the narrative. This is the narrative of Lucy. I think this is like page 5 or something. I should mention that the ultimate aim of all of our games is to make the other smile or cry. It's something like that. I'll know when I win. I type my password, all caps. I hate Joshua forever at my previous passwords.
Ma'am.
My previous passwords have all been variations on how much I hate Joshua forever. We each keep a log on the other. I can only assume he does. He seems to remember all of my transgressions. Mine is a password-protected document hidden on my personal drive, and it journals all the shit that's ever gone down between Joshua Templeman and me. We each have complained to HR 4 times over this past year. He's received a verbal and written warning about the nickname he has for me. I've received 2 warnings, one for verbal abuse and one for a juvenile prank that got out of hand. I'm not proud. So this is ridiculous. And very dumb. However, the thing is that there is an inciting incident about 80 pages in, and this is when I start to like love the characters and I become invested in their story because like the hating starts to break down and they start to become more real to each other and to the reader. And from there, it's just like very good, fantastic time. It was so cute, steamy at times, but it was not like some other books we've read this month where it's just like constant sex, And it just like very good character arcs and like really good character growth for both of the main characters and just in the world in general. And I really, really loved it, but it was like a little tough to get into. So that was the hating game. I recommend it. It's a fun time. You're going to love it. You will.
I'm very excited to read this. I'm going to read this at some point this year, maybe in July, because it's still summer, which is rom-com season.
Yes,
so I will.
You will love Joshua. He is a lovable character for sure. Yes, but a very fun time. Definitely recommend. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But again, I really found the beginning tough to get started. So just want to give everyone like a warning. Like it will get better. It will progress.
Power through a little bit.
Power through. But you might not have the same problem with me because I think reading that excerpt out loud made it a lot more fun than it was to read. Because when I was reading it, I was like, "Oh my God, Lucy!"
Lucy, could we dial it down?
Can we dial it down
just a little bit?
This is ridiculous. So, but yeah, definitely recommend.
Very exciting. I'm thrilled to read that soon. Probably, I feel like that's one of the more popular rom-com books.
And I really feel like it hit off like the recent trend in contemporary rom-coms.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good one to read. Yeah.
Yes. I also have a rom-com to talk about next. And you know what? It's a Renaissance Fair rom-com.
Oh,
Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I read Well Met by Jen DeLuca, which came out in 2019. And we are following our protagonist, Emily, who has just moved to Willow Creek to live with and help take care of her sister and teenage niece after they were in a big car accident. The sister is sort of injured. She can't drive herself, etc. She ends up being roped into volunteering for the town's Renaissance Fair so that her niece is able to participate. Enter Simon. He is a high school English teacher and the uptight organizer of the Renaissance Fair. He has a big stick of his ass, and he's constantly giving Emily a hard time. But when he shows up to work the Renaissance Fair in his hot pirate costume, will they fall in love? Who can say? Who can say? The thing is, this is just extremely cute. I had the best time. As a person who has visited many a Renaissance Fair in my life, I really enjoyed this as a rom-com setting. It was very fun. I also really enjoyed the character development. Simon comes off as an asshole immediately, but he's struggling with some internal stuff that gets revealed as we go. He has some family trauma. And Emily is she's adrift in her life. She dropped out of college to help support her boyfriend while he was in law school, and then was promptly dumped by said boyfriend after he landed his big lawyer job. And so she's like sort of struggling to get back on her feet. She's struggling to find like a place of belonging. And so they both have a lot to overcome individually. And I enjoy that because it's not just like compatibility issues or anything like that. They just have their own shit to deal with, and that's sort of their obstacle in potentially coming together. Who knows?
You know, it's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed.
What is it? It's literally like a point in like Romance Writers of America. Like Guild is. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, there's a decoy love interest at the beginning where like you think, oh, is she actually gonna fall for the extremely hot guy in the kilt? No. It's hot pirate all the way. I also want to say that Emily is a textbook Enneagram type 2. This is a thing I do sometimes, so sorry to our listeners.
We were derailed last month for maybe 40 minutes talking about Enneagram type. So we just deleted that for you.
This is why you're not going to listen to last month's
no.
or any of the previous month's podcasts. But I'm just going to say, so like her whole deal is that she needs to be taking care of others to feel valued and appreciated. And to have any kind of self-worth. And so she's like just constantly putting herself out there for like her sister, who is, you know, kind of an invalid at the moment, and her niece, and for everyone around her. And that really informs all of her actions and how she handles the conflict and everything going forward. Anyhow, 4 stars. I've had a very good time. This is very cute. Just super solid rom-com. If you like Ren fairs, highly recommend. If you like rom-coms, highly recommend. It's a good time.
Yeah, this has popped up on my Goodreads recommended for a while, so I'm looking forward to reading this eventually. Definitely on my TBR. I have yet another rom-com. Shocking no one.
It's rom-com month.
It's rom-com month. We said this, so June's rom-com month, so it is. Tawny also read this one, but I get to talk about it because Tawny read more books than me. So this is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. One Last Stop follows a cynical 20-something girl, August, who's just trying to get by in New York City. She just moved there, and Jane, a punk lesbian displaced from the 70s, unable to leave the subway. Just normal things, just like normal situations. And if you love
Casual.
LGBTQ, just casual. And if you love LGBTQ plus stories, New York, music, ghosts, mysteries, romance, like you're gonna have a really great time. So this is a sapphic time slip rom-com, and it's a really good exploration of queer communities, like both current day and from the past. And it's full of like the classic, she's written one other book, classic McQuiston, typical humor and strong characters and like a really beautiful romance. So like her debut novel, Red, White, and Royal Blue, like the strength is in the characters and how developed and nuanced they are. They like have such deeply real feelings. Like they feel like real people to me. The core characters are August, Jane, and August's ragtag group of roommates. They're just like so fantastic together. They have like fantastic inside jokes and they like love each other and support each other so much. They each have their own individual character arc and you really care about each one. It's like the found family trope in its finest. And it's just a really good, messy family of queer misfits finding their way through life and in their 20s. So Jane, as I said, she's displaced from the 70s, just normal things. She is like the perfect, mysterious, sexy love interest. She's actually like the blueprint for like the fictional lesbian book girlfriend, like the blueprint.
Absolutely. Yes.
This is like that's who she is. She's like the perfect, like, yes, that's who she is. She will like throw impromptu dance party on a broken down subway, but also be punk lesbian 70s and like do riots and protests and can throw a punch and suffered a lot of pain and tragedy as a lesbian being from the queer scene in the 70s, which was the beginning of the AIDS pandemic and a lot of riots. But she's still incredibly upbeat and hopeful and loving. And I really loved how this character was portrayed just very in depth and like very, very three-dimensional. And August is a fantastic main character. To me, her personality felt extremely clear and like made so much sense to me. So she's so cynical and she's so like so much dry humor and self-doubting, but determined. She struggles to connect with other people, but she always wants to do like the right thing, even when it seems impossible. And she's also, this is very fun to be like a reformed girl detective because her mom's been searching for her long lost brother for decades. And so her mom like made her be really good at researching and sniffing out clues and finding things. And she, despite wanting to be done with it, she loves mysteries and research and reading, and Jane's the perfect puzzle for her to solve while being hot. So
I loved the mystery subplot there, like with the uncle and the mom.
Yes.
I loved it so much. It was
me too. And then
so
like
good.
Obviously things connect at some point and you're not like surprised when they do, but it's still done so well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So like, I really love the narration when it comes to describing Jane and August's feelings for each other. It's like very wholesome, but very horny and cute. It's a good time. It like develops, I think, at a perfect pace. Mutual pining done right, A+ mutual pining. It's like my fave. Flirting and buildup is so good, like incredible. And then I just want to talk about the setting. Like New York City was explored and presented so well, both like from the viewpoint of the 70s and the current day. Really beautiful portrayal of communities of the city, like not like just like how from the diner to like the drag queen community to the history and ongoing gentrification. And it felt like a real New York City, even though like there was a magical time slip subway situation, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Like she wasn't afraid to show like the grimy bits and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed that. And she's just so good at an ensemble, at a found family. I loved the full group of characters so much and how they interacted with each other and how they related to each other. And like, okay, so Casey McQuiston is a white lady, but she does a very good job at incorporating diversity into her characters, and not just queer diversity, but also like racial and ethnic diversity as well. I loved it so much.
I loved it so much. And like, not,
I
I'm
cried.
like literally, I know, I was about to say, I'm not spoiling, but I full on sobbed several times during this book. And you know,
I was
emotionally
just,
I was a wreck. Yeah, I was a wreck. And you know that someone's a good writer when the book has you fully on board with a, yes, these characters must make out to solve the mystery. Yes, this makes sense.
Yes. Also, the fact that she was able to work out like a hookup on the train situation.
Yes.
I was like, how are we gonna make that work?
No, she did it.
Expert deployment.
Excellent.
She did it.
Beautiful. She did it.
Did it.
She did it. But yes, you gotta read it. You gotta. And Red, White, and Royal Blue if you haven't. You gotta.
Yes, all of it. Just 5 stars.
5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars. Gotta read. Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Rosalind's here. Hi, Rosalind.
Hi, Rosalind. Oh, Rosalind is 5 stars.
Rosalind is 5 stars. Hi, do you want to say hi to Tawny real quick? You want to say hi?
Come here to me. Oh, you look beautiful. Rosalind is here on the pod. She has thoughts.
Yes.
She would like to endorse.
She also enjoyed One Last Stop. Yes, my cat Rosalind also liked One Last Stop quite a bit. Yeah. So Tawny, tell me what isn't 5 stars, Tawny? Please. What could it be?
Okay. What's not 5 stars? Unfortunately, is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is not. It's not that. It is not. It is not that. No.
Yeah, 2011. Okay, so this was a rec. I want to say by my mom. I forget who recommended it, but I think it was my mom. And so this is about Diana Bishop. And she comes from a long line of witches. But from a very early age, she has sort of rejected witchcraft. She generally refuses to practice. She is a history professor at Yale. She's spending her summer at Oxford to do some research. One day, she calls up an old manuscript from the library and notices that it is bound with magic. She's able to open it with magic, but doesn't get much from it. She sends it back. No big deal. However, this book was apparently very important, and no one has been able to find it or open it for years or maybe centuries. So now a bunch of witches, demons, and vampires are after her to try to gain access to this book and its contents. She then meets Matthew Claremont, a professor of some kind of science, but also a vampire, and therefore her sworn enemy. But he is drawn to her, and he is protecting her from the other creatures who are after her for the book. Will they defy the weird, arbitrary laws meant to keep them apart? Will their love?
Who knows?
IDK. You know what? I didn't read the other 2 books. Okay, this wasn't necessarily bad. It's not an objectively bad book. There is a lot, specifically I want to say the first half is very good, very fun. I really enjoyed all of the historical alchemy kind of stuff. I was very into that. But I found the central relationship to be infuriating. And it's like Twilight-esque, but if they're adults, but heavily
I was about to
in
say
academia.
It's Edward and Bella, but worse. It's worse than that. Yeah.
It's just amplified, because he is very it's very much, he's overprotective and a little bit controlling, and she is I am a feminist and I can take care of myself, but really she just defers to him in every situation ever, and it is maddening. He literally, I don't think this is a spoiler because I'm not saying who it is, but anyway, he murders someone that she knows, and not necessarily like a good person, but just like a person, and she's totally chill about it. He doesn't tell her. She finds out much later, and she's absolutely chill with it. She's like, you know what? Gotta do what you gotta do. I love this guy, so we're just gonna make it work. There's just a lot of really like controlling stuff, and so I believe this is a trilogy. And I just don't really have a desire to continue, even though this book ends with a pretty big cliffhanger. I may end up checking out the show as a more current adaptation might sidestep some of the more problematic relationship bits. But I also might just like carry on living my life and forget that I read it.
There is a very solid medium option, which is read what happens on the internet.
That is also a possibility. And so it was so weird. I couldn't quite figure out how to read it because I really do feel like the first half of this book might be like a 4-star. But the second half is quite bad. And so I ended up at like a 2.5 star on this one. I think I rounded down on Goodreads to 2 stars. Just because like all of the stuff towards the end was really frustrating for me. I feel like instead of character development, we have a lot of like character regression. And there were things that I was super interested in that didn't get explored enough, like Diana's magic, for example. She's supposed to be this extremely powerful witch, and like Matthew can see her magic on her, or her potential magic, and there's a reason why she's not practicing and maybe not able to access all of her magic, and potentially this is what gets explored in the later books. I assume so, but that is stuff that I was really interested in that I didn't get enough of. So yeah, it was just like, it was such a mixed bag. It was overall a little disappointing. So that was a discovery of witches. You read this.
I read it years ago while I was taking a history of science class that was in fact focused around the scientific revolution. So it's a lot of these same scientists and philosophers that they're discussing. And Deborah Harkness, the author herself, is a history of science professor. So I've read her academic papers while reading this book. It's very funny.
Extremely cool.
So I had a very good time because of this. However, totally agree that the second half of the book is trash, and the central relationship is so maddening and is just very frustrating in general. But I love all of how she like puts in references to history of science things so much.
And that's all done so well.
So well.
Done so well.
So I did read the whole trilogy, and I wish I could be like, read it, don't read it. But the situation is that I don't remember anything about it, which is not a good sign for anyone involved. Like it is just not. I know the second one has time travel, and they get to interact with some characters, and that part's fun. That's all I got for you. It's not like the romance is not great. I don't like how the main characters interact. The show I've watched like 3 episodes of. It's also not great.
Yeah. So I do like the actors.
Yeah.
I think it's Teresa Palmer and
Matthew Good, maybe?
That's it. Yeah. And I've liked them in other things. And so I feel like I will potentially give it a shot, but it was such a weird experience because I was actually at the beginning, I was rooting for them to like get together. I was like, this is kind of good. I like the vibes. And then as soon as they do, it's terrible. It's nothing but terrible. And so, yeah, I guess that's a spoiler. I'm sorry guys, but
we recommend half of this book, but like, we don't know what to tell you after that.
Yeah.
Her academic papers
book,
are
Katie.
her academic papers are really good though. They're interesting. Just letting everyone know. Well, I have also not 5 stars, but a good time. A good time. And this will start off literally what I will be talking about for the rest of the podcast. So it's just gonna be me talking about this, and then Tawny talking about a real book, and then we're like back to the garbage over here. So I read The Ice Planet Barbarians. So I have some backstory just about the phenomena of the Ice Planet Barbarians for everyone here today. So this is the first book in a series of the same name by a woman named Ruby Dixon, who's an extremely prolific romance author, actually. She's like over 100 books, like very prolific.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes, extremely prolific. It's a science fiction romance, and it has the most ridiculous cover art I've ever seen in my entire life. And some backstory here. It's a lot. It's a lot.
My whole exposure to this series is seeing the cover art pop up on Katie's Goodreads.
And so, because like I'm reading them on my Kindle, so I forget about it, and then they pop up on my Goodreads. I'm like, oh no. So this phenomena all started with a TikToker named Emma Carter, who's a fairly popular book talker, and she started making videos about the series that she's been reading for a while, because it's been out since like 2016. It's The Ice Planet Barbarians. And at the time, it was fairly obscure, but her TikToks went pretty viral among the book talk community. And more people started to read them, to the extent that this initiated a movement to start reading the series. And it reached Amazon's both the science fiction and romance bestseller lists, and often at #1 in the past like 2 months. This is what's been happening. It's been Ice Planet Barbarians #1, Andy Weir's critically acclaimed new science fiction book. Like that's the situation. So it's been of note. There's like articles about it because it's just this incredible show of like internet community and solidarity. These are like generally very light, extremely fun, silly, steamy books, but they have a lot more substantive themes. There's like healing sexual assault survivors. There's families overcoming generational loss. There's male virginity. There's dealing with fertility issues. And then there's, of course, like a meeting of cultures. And it's all in this like fantastical science fiction setting. The books aren't like going to win an award for like beautiful handcrafted writing, the most beautiful sentence you've ever read in your life. But they're so fun. Oh my goodness. A big turning point for me specifically this year, in the past year, is that I realized I'm allowed to read for fun and for pleasure, just to have like a good time. So like part of me feels like silly that like every single book I read this month was romance, and 4 out of 6 of them are alien smut. But I shouldn't, because I think I shouldn't. I think we all collectively need to stop demonizing romance, especially like the silly, the silly romance with the covers, because they're still good stories. It is one of like the most established, like long-lasting genres for a reason. And I think they should be celebrated. They should be celebrated. So that is my little soapbox moment for the romance genre. Anyways, the first book sets off a series of 24. There's 24 books in this series. And the first book is the worst one so far for me. I've read 4 now, and I'm halfway through the 5th one. So the first one centers on Georgie, and she is a 20-something woman who has been abducted by aliens alongside 5 other women that we know of so far. These aliens are not the tall, sexy kind. They are instead the evil kind, and there are like uncomfortable sexual assault scenes in the beginning of the book that are comfortable. It's not graphic, but it's there. So like a big content trigger warning for the first book. It's just like very uncomfortable, and it was like fairly off-putting. But it's not like glorifying it in any way. Like this is like obviously like this is a horrifying thing. These women were abducted by aliens, and they're gonna treat them like this. So it's not like it was being like glamorizing rape. Georgie leads a rebellion against them and takes the evil aliens down and crashes.
Yeah, she does.
She does. She crashes the spaceship on an ice planet that they call Not Hoth, which is very funny.
I like that a lot.
And so she's like the de facto leader of the group by now. So they only have like a week left of food and water because of like they were being transported to be sold, like they think. So she goes off to just like find something, like whether it's food or water or help. And she is caught in like a trap by tall 7-foot blue muscular alien who has horns. But he is mostly just 7 foot and very muscular, but also blue.
You know what? I love a tall boy. I think I would overlook being blue with horns for a tall boy.
They do also have tails. We forget this sometimes. They do also have tails. So just letting you can make it work. So she's captured. She like passes out for some reason. This is a dual POV. All of the books are dual POV between like the two romance interests. So we switch from Georgie passing out to Vectel his name is Vectel, having rescued Georgie. And he's like, what is this creature? So bizarre. No fur anywhere. And then he starts resonating, which is, I'm spoiling the first book a little bit so I can talk about the rest of them, but I don't think anyone's going to care.
I think that's fine.
It's fine. I think it's fine. You resonate when you find your mate, because I will get into why this happens soon.
I'm done with mates.
Well, then you shouldn't read this series because it's mate time again.
I need trigger warning for mates. Oh gosh. Okay.
So
let's continue.
He starts resonating, which sounds to like Georgie's POV like purring, like it's like a vibration situation. And he is overcome with lust, and the scent emanating from her parts. This is so uncomfortable. And he is simply compelled to just start going down on her. So this is also non-consensual technically, but she like switches POV again, and she like wakes up, and this like hot blue muscular alien is like going down on her. She's like, well, he's doing a good job. So
I'll not interrupt, you know?
I mean, not the worst thing that could happen in the situation. So
okay, does he compare her taste to any kind of fruit?
Oh,
you know what? He's doing a great job.
No, not specific ones. Good. They describe more than you'd probably want, but yes, no, yes, but there's no honeydew moment for you here today.
It's good. It's good. Trigger warning for honeydew.
So like they have this, and then like they have a language barrier, you know, that they have to overcome here. Vectel clearly thinks like, I finally found my mate. We find out later that there's like 30 something only of their species left, and only 4 females who have already mated. So like he thought like he was never going to find his soulmate, his mate ever. And like, there she is, it's this alien. And she's like, well, if I don't go with him, I die. First off, this is my only hope. Also, he's hot and good at oral sex. So like, I don't know, maybe we work on this.
This is practical, I think.
Practical thinking. So there's, you know, it's very like the parts are so cute where they're trying to figure out how to communicate with each other, like learning each other language, like very Tarzan vibes kind of. It's like me, Vectel, you, Georgie. Like it's like a cute situation. I'm not going to spoil too much in the middle or anything. There is a lot of sex. There's just like you think your book has a lot of sex, Tawny. I bet way more. Way more.
I felt scandalized reading the Third from Blood and Ash book on a plane because I was in public. So I'm excited to experience the
so
Ice
just
Planet
like
Barbarians.
a lot. And like if you don't want to be spoiled for a romance book, which of course has a happy ending, then like skip ahead a little bit. But to set up the rest of the books, they end up rescuing the rest of the women. Turns out there were also at least 6 more like in hibernation tubes or whatever. So there's like 12 human women, and they take them back to the camp, and they all learn English through this other thing that happens. That's convoluted, but like the end result is that the women are safe. They have a new home. There's 20 something men. There's 12 women. Each book is now a new pairing between an alien and the odds are good. And so like one thing that's like that happens is, so there is this planet is generally hospitable to organisms, except there is like a toxin in the air. And the way that they get around this is that they have a mutually beneficial relationship with a parasite. And it's called the Kui. And how, I will not tell you, actually, you will find out how you get the Kui inside you. But this is what it modifies both the blue aliens and the humans so that they can live in these conditions. And this is what causes the mating behavior, because the reason why it's mutually beneficial is that humans and the aliens can live, but the Kui gets to reproduce this way. So that's the situation. So when 2 Kuis find each other and they think that they're the perfect mates, they will vibrate and then make them want to have sex a lot. So this is the situation at hand. So first book is my least favorite one so far because of the sexual assault at the beginning, and it has like the worst consent in general of all of the books. There's always, if you're gonna have 2 beings from other worlds with a language barrier, there's going to be consent issues in a romance book. That's just the situation, but this one definitely has the worst. But it sets up like a very interesting world with interesting ideas, and it's very fun, and the sex scenes are very good. So that is the first book. I will be continuing for the rest of the pod, telling you about each one as we go. So.
I am so excited to continue. Honestly, that being the worst book, I still want to read it.
Yeah. So I gave that one 3 out of 5, and it would have been a 4 if it weren't for like a couple of those things I had mentioned. So yeah, no, very good time. Set off like a good progression for me. Surprising amount of plot, I gotta say. Shocking amount of plot. My complaints to Tawny when I started reading, I'm like, there's actually a lot of plot, Tawny. There's like a lot. There's too much.
I was shocked when you first told me like what these books were, and then you said there was just so much plot. I was like, I was shocked. But I guess you're gonna read it.
Are they free with Kindle Unlimited? They are. So just letting everyone know.
The whole series?
It is the whole series is free with Kindle Unlimited. So it's really hard to stop yourself because you're like, well, it's right here.
It's just available to me right
here. Yes. But
I wish I felt that way about the physical books that I've purchased that are in my home, that are available to me right now. But
exactly.
That's fine. That's what this is about.
So we'll take a break from the aliens, and we'll go to Tawny's next book. Oh, yay!
So my next book is the Katie Zellner recommendation. So you will not know this because these episodes don't exist to you. They exist to us, but they don't exist to you. Katie and I embarked on a reread of some of our childhood favorite series. I forced her to read Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and then she had me read the Warriors series by Erin Hunter. This is a series about warrior cats. I read the first 5 books last month, and then I finally completed the first series. There are several of these series. I don't know how many, a lot of them, but the 6th book in this initial series, I closed it out. So there are potentially some spoilers here for the previous book.
The situation is that if you haven't read them, anything Tawny's going to say next is complete gibberish. It's like, oh, what?
It's not going to make sense to you. Let me try to give you some background. So this is, it's a book about cats. They're not like talking cats. They communicate with each other. They're just real forest cats. And there are 4 clans. There's Thunder Clan, River Clan, Wind Clan, and Shadow Clan. Wow, I did it. And our series starts with Rusty, who is a house cat. He's a kitten though, and he leaves his home to join the Thunder Clan and be a warrior cat. He then becomes, by the time of this 6th book, he is Fire Star. He is the leader of the Thunder Clan. And his nemesis, Tiger Star, previously a member of Thunder Clan, is now the leader of Shadow Clan. They're kind of like the evil cats. That's kind of the Shadow Clan vibe. So that's sort of where we are when this starts. Tiger Star has just taken over the Shadow Clan, and Firestar has just taken over the Thunder Clan. Tiger Star is making a power play to try to unite all 4 clans under his rule, and we gotta stop it. We gotta stop him from his evil plan. Interestingly, I actually thought this was going to be a thing that Firestar did, but like in a positive way. I thought he was going to be like, we got to unite the clans, guys, and be like friends and be harmonious and stop fighting against each other. That's not the way it panned out. I was mistaken. So this is a bad thing. We need the 4 clans to be strong. That it's the cat way. But also, I'm gonna say, the fact that Tiger Star is trying to unite the 4 clans, but is also discriminating against cross-clan cats whose parents are from different clans.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. He really should have thought about his messaging a little bit more. Is all I'm saying. So basically, this 6th book, I've already spoiled a bunch, but I'm not going to go too deep into it just because it's a lot of like power plays. There are some battles. It's straight up just like good versus evil. And the cats, they're fighting. They're I don't know how to explain this honestly, in a way that makes any sense.
The series is Game of Thrones, but cats for middle grade. So this is like the last book in that. It's the ultimate battle, good v evil.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so there's some cat love interests. My personal ship is not gonna come to fruition, but that's okay.
It's definitely against the rules. Tawny wants the leader of the clan and his former apprentice who is disabled to fall in love.
Listen, she is a full-fledged medicine cat now, and she's an adult. She can make decisions for herself. He has been an absolute dick to Sandstorm, and she deserves better. So that's my 2 cents. None of this makes sense to any of you. I'm gonna wrap it up because none of this makes sense to anyone. Here's the thing: if you know someone who is like in like 4th to 8th grade who likes fantasy and or cats, they should read these books. It was generally a fun time. I had a nice time. I don't necessarily recommend them to you as an adult currently, unless you're extremely intrigued by the premise. But I gave this, I think, 4 stars. It was fun.
It's a good conclusion to the first
it
book.
is.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I don't think I'm gonna read any of the other series. There is a standalone Yellow Fang origin story that I may potentially read.
I also want to do that because that's new. That's newish. So I am also.
And yeah, Yellow Fang was my favorite of all the cats. So I mean, there's there's lots out there. If you do enjoy this, there's lots out there.
After the pod, I will simply tell you about the second series because it's fun. So.
Oh, please do. Yes, that's exactly how I want to consume that information.
Incredible. Darkest Hour. Cat book.
Oh, yes. I didn't even say the title of the book that it's
the Darkest Hour.
You guys know. It's
okay. We're on the second book of the Ice Planet Barbarians. This one's called Barbarian Alien. I was unaware of any book titles until I was making the notes for this podcast because I did not pay attention. I was just like, the second one, please download. Yes, thank you, Kindle. Thanks. So this is the second one. Now we know the setup, right? There's a bunch of hot blue aliens and a bunch of females, and they're gonna mate with each other. This one is Liz, and she is like formerly did like a lot of hunting with her dad on Earth, and she doesn't like fate. She doesn't like that concept. She wants to make decisions for herself. So she's very uncomfortable with this idea, but she's like very sassy. She's like kind of like, like rough around the edges, but like she wants everything the best for everyone, but she's a little rough around the edges. She's a little sassy, a little like, I'm not interested in this. Rahash is surly, scarred alien. Like people don't generally get along with him. He's like surly. People don't like him. Not good vibes. He immediately resonates with Liz after she gets her Kui installed into her. And when he was a child, he was abandoned by his father. And so he has like a lot of like attachment issues. So what he decides to do is immediately kidnap her and run away with her. This is against clan rules.
Yeah, as one does. As one does.
as one does. So like, and this is extreme. This is like one of like the biggest laws you can break in the clans because females are like so needed. So because like there's 4 of them. So this is like, no, you can't take a whole woman away. No, wait, no, where are you going? So this is against the rules. This is very, very strong enemies to lovers situation. It's an interesting dichotomy of Liz being like, I desperately want to have sex with you physically, but I'm so mad. I am in this situation where I do not have this choice. I'm going to hate on you this whole time. And so like they have,
that's fair.
Yeah, and it's fair. And they have a similar language barrier thing. They figure out what they both need, and they come to love and respect each other and have just like a lot of sex. And they fight for each other, and it was a very good time. This was one of my favorites of the ones I read. So yeah,
that sounds very good.
I cannot overemphasize how much sex they have, though, and I'm not going into details because there's Tawny. When you read these, we will discuss on a non-recorded call there's certain things that reoccur, and it's very funny.
Oh, wow.
I think so. So actually, I will say a few things of note is that the anatomical body of the 7-foot-tall blue aliens is that they have a lot of ridges and places that just in places. So like tongue and other places, they have ridges, and this is beneficial for activities.
Interesting.
And, yes.
Very interesting.
This is going very off the rails, this part of it, because my entire notes for this section of the pod for me are the character names and then like the thing they have to overcome. So this is not going to be...
You know what? I think that's fair.
I think that's where we are at yeah. So like really loved this one. A really good time, a really good enemies to lovers. love Liz and Rahash very much. So yes, 4 stars.
Okay. The next book that I read was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which came out here in June 2021.
I'm so
it was
stressed
my book
out.
of the month book.
I'm so stressed out that people haven't loved it. Please tell me it's
Yeah. Okay, so I really enjoyed it. I did give it 4 stars. So this follows the 4 Riva siblings on the day of their annual end of summer party in August 1983. So this takes place in the 80s. It does not feel distinctly 80s to me. I was expecting more like 80s pop culture or something to like really ground you in the time period. I did not feel grounded in the time period. It felt kind of contemporary to me. But that's neither here nor there. I don't particularly care about the 80s. That's rude. I care about the 80s, but I don't care about this book being set in the 80s. The actual events of the book all take place on this one day in a 24-hour period, but it's sort of cut together with flashbacks of their parents' relationship. Like it follows them getting together, and then it follows the kids and their childhood as a way to slowly peel back the layers of their relationship to each other and their relationship to their family at large. This is also part of the Taylor Jenkins Reid multiverse, as these are the children of Mick Riva, who was one of the husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And he also apparently appeared at a random party in Daisy Jones and Six. I read Daisy Jones and Six before I read Evelyn Hugo, so I did not pick up on his presence there, but apparently it's a thing. So the book started pretty slow to me. I wasn't super invested in the early relationship between Mick and June, who is the mother. She's the mother of the siblings. And I don't think I was fully bought in until all 4 siblings were together and you sort of got to see them interact in their relationships to each other. Whether or not you enjoy this book is going to be based solely on your investment in the characters. I was very invested in the characters. Our sort of main character is Nina. She's the oldest of the siblings, and she's kind of their caretaker. She is famous as like a model and surfer. They're all kind of generally famous in like the surfing world. But I really loved Nina. And I just really loved the characters. I feel like they were written with such care, and even though like most of the events are taking place on one day, I feel like with the flashbacks and everything, we get a lot of character depth and a lot of growth, and I was just like really rooting for all of them. And they each have their own like meaningful personal journey, which I really enjoyed. And I realized that this is not for everyone. There's not a ton that happens in this book. There's not a ton of plot. There's not like a ton going on. It's more like a character study. But I was invested and I had a good time. I feel like, so this is somewhere between 3.5 and 4 stars for me. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads because I thought the ending was really, really strong. And sort of the way that they deal with their relationship to their father and how that all comes to a head. I thought it was handled really, really well. And where the characters end up at the end was also, it was really good for me. So I do see why this is divisive, because it's like, I can see why some people would be like, this is kind of boring or, whatever. But if you're into really character driven stories, I feel like this is a good one for you. If not, maybe you skip this one. I don't know, but I had a great time. So I don't think I helped your fears at all.
I mean, I'm gonna read it because it was
Yeah.
also a book of the month book for me, so I'm gonna read it. And I love so many of her other books, so obviously, and I do like a character driven story. So I will update you probably in 1 month how I liked it. So yeah,
Excellent.
perfect. Yes. We're returning to my dumpster for Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon. I'm gonna say for all of them, maybe this is my favorite because I just said that for Barbarian Alien. So but
Incredible.
So Kira's the human in this one, and so she had an interesting situation on the first book when the evil aliens first abducted her, is that they chose her to surgically place ear implant thing into her so that she could be a translator. And she's always had this ever since. So this is like a beneficial. She could always understand the other aliens and everything. But it turns out to be a whole thing for her because it's like uncomfortable. She can hear too much. So she hears things like she doesn't want to, like everyone having sex all the time. And like when people say things about her, and it's uncomfortable for her. And the other thing is that she's one of the women who did not immediately resonate at all. And we come to find out that this is because when she was young, like 13 or something, she had a surgery that went awry and she's infertile, actually. So she's very scared that everyone's going to find out that, like, oh, one of these women is not actually going to be able to do, like, the job, you know, which is a very unfortunate thing that they have to think about. But, like, yeah, no, like, they obviously want to propagate and have children. And the fact that she can't is, like, that's worrying for her. Like, so she throws herself into, like, trying to be as helpful as possible, like, learning how to make clothes and, like, go getting things for people. Because she's like, I don't want to lose my place in the society because it's the only way I stay alive. Aishko is a hot alien who is like the life of the party. Everyone loves him. He's so sociable, and he's like always like had a thing for Kira. As soon as he met her, he's like, oh, she has sad eyes and she's serious, and I want to know what's going wrong, and I want to make her feel better. And they start like this flirtationship, and he really wants to be with her. But Kira's like, no, what if, like, you know, we get together and then one of us resonates for someone else? And he's like, well, that's, you know what, life is life. We move on. And she's like, no, because I will be emotionally devastated. So we can't start anything because you're going to leave me and then I will be emotionally devastated because I can't have children for you. So we will never resonate, blah, 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 blah. But this is a secret and she doesn't tell anyone. So Aishko doesn't know why Kira with the sad eyes will not accept his advances. And it's upsetting. Then her ear implant makes a noise and she can hear that the original aliens, like the group, they're coming back, and they can probably locate her with the implant thingy, because that's an assumption that we make, is that like probably it's a tracking device too. And she panicked because she's like, oh, not only can I not have children, but I'm gonna get everyone killed by the OG aliens. So she tries to go on her own on a little thing because she's going to try to get it out by going to, there's a spaceship where they can have medical, it's fine, it's a thing. There's too much plot, Tawny. So she like tries to go on her own to go try to get the thing removed, and so that she's far away from everyone else so that if the aliens do come, they don't murder everyone. But Aishko insists on going with her, as do Harlow and another Harlow's another human and another alien, and so they go on a journey together to try to solve this problem. And it's a very cute romance, and I like the idea of like overcoming this big obstacle. Like, no, like she's infertile and she has to deal with this, and like how will this be solved, and will they still be able to love each other even though she has these overcoming issues and everything. So it was good. It was very cute. I liked it a lot.
That is nice. As a person who does not want children ever, I like the idea of the message being like, hey, you have value more than just bearing children. I like that a lot.
After the calling it, I'll tell you about the ending. Well, you're going to read it, and then we can talk about the ending, because I think you're on board. I think you're on board. The thing about each of these books is that they're like under 300 pages long, usually in the 250 range, sometimes in the 180 range. So it does, in fact, take you like 2 to 3 hours to read each one.
It's
so
quick.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a quick time. Yeah. So
Very
so
good.
I gave that one 4 stars. I think it's one of my favorites. Like these 3 are like very tied. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Looking forward to reading that. Okay. So you have one book left, right?
I do have one book left.
Okay, I have 4. So the next book that I read is Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. And this came out this month. I actually heard about this from a booktuber that I follow, Peruse Project, Reagan. She's actually moving to Austin soon. Let's be best friends. That's my pitch. Reagan, hit me up. Anyway, so this is a young adult fantasy novel, and it follows Voya, and she comes from a long line of witches. Now that she is 16, she will go through her calling or coming of age, which is basically a ceremony that a witch will go through. She's given a task by an ancestor, and if they pass, they become a full-fledged witch with powers and one unique special gift. And if they fail, then they get no powers, essentially. And what everyone agrees is a really extreme move. Voya is given the task to, quote, destroy her first love. And if she fails to do this, not only will she not get to be a witch, but her whole family is going to lose their magic.
Excuse me? What?
Yep.
Excuse me?
Oh, welcome back. Yeah, so yeah, if she doesn't do this, her whole family's gonna lose their magic. The problem, she has never been in love before. So basically, she has to find someone to fall in love with and then murder them before she reaches her 1-month deadline. The stakes are raised even more when she finds out that one of her family members' lives is tied to the family's magic. So if the whole family loses magic and she fails, this family member is going to die.
Listen, this is a lot.
This is a lot.
What are like the normal, what's
dark.
like a normal task? Like what?
A normal task is that they sort of establish that you're basically given a choice between 2 things, and you just have to make a decision between the 2, and then you get your powers. It's very rare for someone to fail and they never get a task like this.
Is there like I expect that there's a reason why this is a thing.
There is a reason. There is a reason. I don't know if it's a great reason, but there is a reason, and it's
can it be she kills him and then he comes back to life as a vampire? This is one option.
Wow. You know what? This is creative. I don't know for certain that there are vampires in this universe.
Okay.
So
what if she kills him, but he is a Fire Clan star leader and he has 9 lives. He has 9 lives.
Perhaps. You know what? I can't.
I'm a problem solver. So
there's gotta be a way out, right? Like there's gotta be. Maybe not.
This reminds me of I've not read this book, but a meme on a meme on TikTok is people reading the book. They both die at the end, and then being shocked when they both die at the end.
Like, it's right there, guys. It is in fact.
No, but what if there's a way? What if there's a way?
What if there's a way? We're nothing if not optimistic, honestly. There is, so a thing that I enjoy is there's a lot, and this is actually some shared DNA with Legendborn, which is a book that I read earlier this year. The books are not similar. The plot is absolutely not similar in any way, but I think that there's this sort of ancestral, like cultural roots kind of vibe, which I really enjoy, where like your power comes from your culture and your ancestors and your collective. And I think that's a really interesting sort of cultural lens to explore. Like, you're not the chosen one because of some prophecy. It's like it's this thing that has been built up and maintained by your family for generations and generations. And I think that that's really cool and really important. There's also a big sci-fi element to this, which I was not expecting. Like, there's sort of a big nemesis who is the owner of this corporation called New Gene, and they do like designer DNA and genetic stuff, which is interesting. Sorry, my Alexa was speaking from a faraway room, and I got very nervous that there was someone in my home. There's not. It's just Alexa. It's fine. Sorry. So this was very close to being a 5-star read for me. I think it was very good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy the diversity. This is written by a Black author. Our main character is Black, obviously her whole family. And there's also a lot of LGBTQIA plus representation as well. One of her whole family, like cousins, extended family, everything lives in one house together. One of her cousins is trans. She has another cousin who's lesbian. The main love interest is Mexican and trans, which I think is really cool. I found some stuff towards the end to be frustrating, specifically around the interpretation of the task. And I don't want to say more than that, but some of it is frustrating for me. So I gave this 4 stars. It was very good. I want to read to you the dedication. I do have this book in front of me because I think it's super important and super special. And so it says, to Black girls everywhere, you can be more than a slave or a lesson for someone else. You deserve to be a witch or a dragon tamer, to fall in love with a vampire, or lead your friends against a villain. You are more than the best friend or sassy comedic relief. You are the hero. And I think that's super special and super sweet. And I think that it's really important to diversify the fantasy space, which is largely super white and super heteronormative and everything like that. So I do highly recommend this book. It's dark, but it was a really fun time.
That sounds really good. When you were first describing the initial premise, I was like, she did say this came out this year, because I feel like I read very similar premise, except for the task being extremely out of the hand. So yeah.
Just murder.
Just murder your lover. I'm looking forward to reading it, especially because what I've just interpreted from you is that probably the interpretation of the killing the lover is probably not straight to code, and you're like, does that count? This is my interpretation. What you said, I do not know.
I think that's a fair thing to glean from what I said.
Yes, yes.
From nerd to nine.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to read it. It sounds really, really good. Yeah. You're gonna double up.
Oh, right. I'm going again. I'm going again. Here I go.
This is. If you just read 6 books like a normal person.
If I could perhaps rein it in, that would be cool. It would be cool for everyone.
12 is a good number. I'm good with 12.
It's
when you do like 15 that I'm like, I can't.
It gets a little out of hand. It's hard to maintain. So the thing is, I thought that I was in a reading slump because I was trying to read King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, and I got like 60 pages in, And I
Is
just did not feel
is there a more hit and miss author than Leigh Bardugo in existence?
I could not say. I like truly Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, 5 stars. Immaculate. No notes. Shadow and Bone,
Notes.
not good.
Notes.
Many notes. You guys won't get to hear my notes. They were recorded in like April, but don't worry about it. And I just like did not feel like reading it. I will potentially revisit later. I don't know. I love Nikolai and I love Nina, so TBD. But anyhow, that's not what this is about. I decided to take a break from that. And then I read this book in one sitting and I was like, no, I'm not in a reading slump. I just was not into that book. So this is where we are. I read Anne of Manhattan by Brina Starler, which also came out
Tawny,
this month.
I just want to comment on you being like, I read at this point 10 books this month. I feel like I'm in a reading slump. It was a thought Tawny had in her brain.
It was a thought. I don't know who I am if I'm not actively reading a thing. Is apparently my new identity. I guess. I could have stopped right then. I just could have stopped it, but
it's good. You're good. Please tell me about Anne of the Green Gables.
So it's a modern day rom-com retelling of Anne of Green Gables. So I think technically the timeline most closely aligns with the events of Anne of the Islands, which is the 3rd book in the series and the one where she goes away to Redmond College. So this follows Anne, who is in her final year of her Master's of Education program at Redmond, and she unexpectedly crosses paths with Gilbert Blythe, her childhood nemesis, who just moved back to New York from Berkeley to be close to his ailing father. This is my Gilbert Blythe voice. I don't know what to tell you.
I love your Gilbert Blythe voice.
And he is also finishing his final year of his Master's of Education program at Redmond. Dun, dun, dun. Gilbert has been in love with Anne since they were like 12, and she's always held a grudge against him for his less than stellar first impression. There was no slate breaking in this retelling. It was replaced instead by her hitting him upside the head with a notebook. Similar vibe. It's fine. Listen, I do not have a master's degree. I certainly don't have one in education, but I'm pretty sure this has nothing to do with how master's programs and a thesis actually works, because they are thrown together to work on their thesis jointly because reasons. Gilbert is a last minute addition to the program, and the only advisor is unable to take on an additional thesis project, and he's like, you simply must do the same project together. It's fine. This is not the point. The point is forced proximity. I love these characters. I love these stories. Anne and Gilbert are legitimately my first OTP, and Gilbert Blythe is maybe my first and all-time favorite fictional crush. I have never been so in love with a fictional character as I am with Gilbert Blythe. So I am not an objective reviewer here. I was primed to have a nice time. And you know what? I did. I had a nice time. So if you fall within the following set of very specific circumstances, I think you too will have a good time reading this book. And it is, are you already familiar with Anne of Green Gables and generally enjoy it? But you're maybe not a devoted purist regarding the source material, and also you enjoy contemporary rom-coms. Congratulations! Please read this. You're gonna have a great time. It was fun. It was fun fan fiction is what this was. My one note is that I absolutely hated the third act conflict that happens in every rom-com. But this one is wildly upsetting. And Gilbert is actually the one in the wrong, but the book really blames most of it on Anne. And like, for sure he has a thing like to call into question, but like it's really annoying and it's really upsetting. The thing that they're fighting about and the way that he handles it. But I'm willing to overlook it because I still had a great time. Other things to note. I do appreciate the author's attempt to diversify this extremely white hetero story. It was not necessarily deployed in a meaningful way, but I'm so glad it's there. Diana Barry is both Black and bisexual. Marilla, who I believe to be canonically queer, anyhow, fight me, is explicitly queer here, and is in a relationship with none other than Rachel Lynde. I died. This doesn't mean anything to like most people, but this is it was wild. It was crazy. I gave this 4 stars.
You being like, this means nothing to me, but I'm glad you're having a good time.
You know what? Eventually, we're finally going to watch the Kevin Sullivan Anne of Green Gables miniseries. This is the only one that matters. This is the superior adaptation. I would argue that it is maybe better than the books.
Okay, so I think I've read the first Anne of Green Gables, but like when I was small, I remember the zero, none, like not zero. So should I read the books first or should I read?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you can. But
I want to appreciate Anne of Green Gables as much as you do, which is not possible, I think. But
it's potentially not possible.
But
only
I want to support
Joanna Robinson. This is the plan for some time. Potentially this is a fall activity. We're long distance friends, guys. We're gonna like do a Zoom and we're both gonna bake a thing independently and we're gonna watch the Anne of Green Gables miniseries and we're gonna have just a wholesome, great time. That's
incredible.
That is my plan for us, for you and I. And guys, if you out there, all of the listeners for this fake podcast.
Are you inviting people to our Zoom to watch Anne of Green Gables?
No, I am absolutely not inviting strangers.
Tell me what are you doing?
No. I was just gonna say, if you haven't seen the Kevin Sullivan miniseries, you should watch it, like on your own in your own home.
You were just proposing it like it was the scandal setting. You're like, oh, and if our listeners like, what are you gonna propose here? Like, just to watch a movie, just to watch a movie.
Just giving a strong recommendation to watch this 3-hour movie. And then also, if you've already watched it and you've read some of the books, I think you should read this rom-com. It was really cute and fun. I would like to yield my time.
I've
talk about some Barbarians.
We set maximum time limits, and I have no idea. I've not been keeping up with them at all. So
I have not either.
I think we're good.
That one went over. I feel like before
I'm going very under. So I am now going to talk about Barbarian Mine. So because the titles keep getting. Actually, I want to. After this review, I have some titles.
Is it about mining?
No, it's
like
just
okay, mine. I own
my Barbarian mine.
Okay.
Yes. So
they're not working in the mine.
I've chosen for the sake of variety to read the book description out loud to you for this one. So the main characters here are Harlow and Rook. This is from POV of Harlow's book description. The ice planet has given me a second lease on life. She had a brain tumor, and then the Kui thing healed her, so she is alive. She's good now.
Congrats to Harlow.
Congrats to Harlow. So I'm thrilled to be here. Sure, there's no cheeseburgers, but I'm healthy and ready to be a productive member of the small tribe. What I didn't anticipate, that there'd be a savage stranger waiting nearby, watching me. And when he takes me captive, the unthinkable happens. I resonate to him. Resonance means mating and children, but I don't know if this guy's ever been around anyone before. He's truly a barbarian in all ways, right down to clubbing me over the head and claiming me as his own. So why do I crave his touch and hunger for more?
Why indeed?
Why indeed? So this is like extreme language. He can't speak even. Like, she can speak the language, and he's just like, he's not been so what's the word when you use social? So he's not been socialized in years, ages even. So he is learning all of the things, and he is a virgin too, and she has to teach him the sex at some point, and also fire and things, and they fall in love as they learn. It's very Tarzan vibes, this one, and it is a cute, good time, and I like them very much together. It's good. So, yep. 4 stars. The shortest reviews for these, but I am gonna take this moment just for fun. I'm just gonna tell you the titles of these books. Are you ready? Okay, so I'm halfway through book 5, which is Ice Planet Holiday, where the humans bring Christmas to the ice planet. So that's fun. Then we have Barbarians Prize. We have Barbarians Mate. We have 2 short stories. We have Having the Barbarian's Baby. And then, Tawny, if you would like to contribute, what would you name a short story about ice planet aliens having a child, if you could?
Ice Baby.
You are correct.
Oh my god! I thought there was simply no way.
No, it's called Ice Babies. That's what it's called. Wow. Yeah. Then we have Barbarians Touch, Barbarians Taming, Barbarians Heart, Barbarians Hope, Barbarians Choice, Barbarians Redemption, Barbarians Lady, Barbarians Rescue, Barbarians Tease, The Barbarian Before Christmas, and Barbarians Beloved. These are the 18 books that I have for you today. Yes.
Okay, wait. So I would like to know. I think you said there were originally 6 women who were abducted by the OG bad aliens. And then each book is a new pairing. Do we get more?
Yeah, so I did mention
women,
that
or do we get repeats?
So there were more women in a situation that I did mention, but I went over it pretty quickly. So there are more. I don't know beyond 12. 12 is the number I can account for right now. So I don't know beyond that. But it is fun because it's a series. You get to see like what previous couples are doing. You get to see like them have children in the background and like things like that. So like that's very fun. So yeah. Ice Babies. You know?
I can't wait. Honestly, I'm most excited for Christmas time.
It's a time. It's a time. That one. Gotta say. So yeah, though, that's everything I read this month. Had a good time. Tawny still got like a couple more books to talk about. So Tawny, take it away.
I have 2 more. All right, here we go. The next book that I read is The Trouble with Hating You by Sanjni Patel, which came out in 2020. We've got, similarly to The Hating Game, we've got enemies to lovers. We've got forced proximity. We've got the rom-com tropes. They're all here. Leah is a successful business lady with no interest in marriage. Her traditional Hindu parents are hearing none of that, though, and attempt to ambush her with a potential marriage match at dinner. panicked and feeling betrayed, obviously, she runs out the back door and literally into her would-be suitor. She leaves without explanation. Turns out this guy, Jay, is the new corporate lawyer tasked with saving the company that she works for from going under. And now they have to work together. Wow. Individually, they're both working through some trauma that has hindered some past relationships. Jay is dealing with some complicated emotions around the circumstances of his father's death. And then this is a very light spoiler, but it's something that's disclosed probably within the first like 25% of the book. And I do feel like it's important for some to know going into the story. Content warning for sexual assault. It doesn't happen on the page and is not described in great detail, but it is a huge part of the book and a huge motivating factor for Leah in how she engages in relationships. So there's that. They have these individual obstacles to overcome, and also they hate each other. How are they gonna figure it out? The middle dragged just a tad for me. There's a bit of a standoff where Jay is like, hey, I think we should date. And Leah is like, oh, but I don't trust men. And he's like, oh, but really, please date me. And she's like, no, like I really don't trust men. And it just goes on for like a little bit too long. Additionally, Jay is very declarative about being a good guy. Like which like he absolutely is. He's a good dude. But it's also he talks about it a lot, and it's just like, we get it, man. You can stop congratulating yourself when you're simply being compared to actual abusers. Like, I don't know. But overall, I had a really good time. I was really invested in the relationship. I loved there's like a girl gang aspect. Like there's a lot of representation of just like really meaningful female friendships. And it felt super authentic, and it like took up space in the book, and I really enjoyed that. I liked it a lot. It's a super solid rom-com. I loved Leah. Like I said, I was invested in the relationship, and I had a good time. I enjoy the general, I think, growing diversity in the rom-com space. Like I think that more than other genres, there's a lot more of a space for like POC authors to write authentic stories, like Jasmine Guillory and Talia Hibbert and Sonali Dev, and people who are coming out with a lot of rom-coms. And there's just a lot. I feel like there's a lot of options, and it's obviously not perfect. It's not even great, but I think that it's like the romance genre is doing better at this than a lot of others. I think there's a lot of really solid POC rom-com content out there right now. I gave this 4 stars. I had a really good time. That was
nice.
The trouble with
yes.
you.
No, absolutely. Romance has like a very solid space for representation in a way that most other genres don't, and that's interesting. And I think
it is interesting.
And I think it comes from, it's a very woman-centered publishing area.
Yes.
So it's a more empathetic one in general, because that's how it goes. So I think there's just a lot more space for exploring different kinds of people, and I think that's a good part of romance in general. Yep.
I definitely agree. The last book that I read
wow,
in the month of June. So I say in the month of June, I did finish it today.
Yeah, I also finished a book. I finished a book yesterday too. It counted. It counts.
But it counted. I read most of it in June. It's fine.
June 31st and June 32nd. So yeah.
Exactly. So I read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, which did come out in June of 2021. I randomly just got this on a Libby Lucky Day loan, which is a thing that Libby does, where in-demand titles are immediately available to you, but for a shortened loan period, and so you have just like 1 week to read it or whatever. Anyhow, it's cool. Libby's the best. So this is the author who wrote The Silent Patient. This is I was gonna say mystery thriller, but it's more just like a mystery. This follows Mariana, who is a semi-recently widowed therapist. She's the guardian to her niece Zoe, who is away at college. One day, Zoe calls Mariana with the news that one of her friends has been murdered on campus. Mariana goes to Cambridge to be with Zoe and is immediately suspicious of one of the professors and the all-female cult-like group that follows him around. The group is known as the Maidens. Dun, dun, dun. And when more murders start happening, Mariana takes it upon herself to start investigating things on her own. So in terms of format, this is fairly similar to The Silent Patient in that like we have very short chapters, so it reads very quickly, and it's interwoven with what might be diary entries from an unknown person. And so, okay, the vibes were just weird for me the whole time. So this was a 3-star read for me, so it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't great, and I feel like it's because I wasn't fully invested in the characters, and it just feels like they were all generally underdeveloped. Like I wasn't getting a lot from them. Additionally, I really, really hated the twist.
He's really good at this author with terrible twists that I hate.
Terrible twists. Yeah. I hate it with my whole being. I will obviously not say what the twist is. And it's hard to criticize because of that. But and like it's obviously meant to be shocking, I suppose. But it felt cheap. And so I don't know. This is not objectively bad. I did generally enjoy it. And it's a perfectly like serviceable mystery. If you really liked The Silent Patient, if you're into mysteries in general, this is kind of a standard whodunit kind of situation. And so I'm sure many, many people will love it, but for me, it was just okay. So it's 3 stars. Not bad, not great.
I got this as an extra book of the month add-on because even though I didn't really like The Silent Patient, like the concept sounds very up my alley. So yeah. So I'm looking forward to reading it and of course trying to guess the twist because this is what I like to do for fun. Tawny reads a mystery thriller before me, then I start reading the book, and then 30 pages in have to be like, okay, Tawny, this is what happens.
And usually she's right. Is the thing.
It's my favorite activity in the whole world. Being right, I mean, is my favorite activity, not this specific one, just in general being correct. But hey,
and there's a lot of
go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. There's a lot of like Greek mythology stuff that's woven throughout here, which I did enjoy. I like Greek mythology.
It kind of sounds like a lesser developed, short, cheap, like Walmart Secret History. Have you read The Secret History?
I haven't.
Oh, you should read The Secret History.
Okay. Okay, perhaps
it's good. Did you read The Goldfinch?
No.
Okay. I don't like The Goldfinch, but I love The Secret History.
I remembered you not loving it.
No, I did not. But it's also by her, and I love The Secret History because it's also like dark academia, murder, cult vibes, boarding school. Yes, situation. Okay. Greek mythology, Latin shit. So, Yes, a good time.
Excellent.
Yes. Tawny, we did it. We did it.
We did it. We
And
sure did.
Tawny, I forgot. I wrote a whole joke that's very funny, and I was trying to think of a way to interweave it because I forgot about my joke because I didn't put it in my notes because I thought I would just do it off the cuff. However, I forgot about it. So I'm just going to tell you the joke now out of place instead of it being interwoven with the book summary. I'm going to pull it up right now because I wrote it out, of course. This is how you tell a good joke. You know, it's explaining that you're about to tell a joke with a long-winded situation and it having no context. When Taylor Swift said, "He looks up grinning like a devil, it's blue," she probably wasn't talking about the ice planet Barbarians' penis, but you can never be sure. It's a pretty good joke.
It is a pretty good joke. I like it.
It's a cruel summer. Wow, I wish I delivered that joke better because then it could be the intro to the podcast, like in You're Wrong About. But
it could still be the intro to the podcast. I think it was perfect. I think it's the perfect teaser for what's to come for the Ice Planet Barbarians.
Incredible. Well, Tawny, we just have a couple of wrap-up things. I'm gonna skip to our second question, which is just talking about our July TBR. I'm gonna grab my physical pile because I don't remember right now.
Okay. I will start talking because I just received from the library, not a book that I own, which is what I should be reading. Oh my goodness, your pile is so big. City of Brass, which I'm very excited to read. So I will potentially be reading that trilogy in July. And then some other things, but that's my main thing that I'm excited to read, and then I will choose from among many others in my physical TBR, hopefully.
We got It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I don't know anything about it, but it's pink and it's by Colleen Hoover.
It's so pretty.
And
I've actually heard really good things.
I've heard
about
such good things about it. Yeah, so I've heard amazing things. I don't know anything about it at all. And then The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary, which is a rom-com. And
I also purchased that.
There's a road trip.
Maybe we'll both read it.
I don't know anything about it, but it's here. I
think it's X's on a road trip. So.
We got Legend Born. So I can finally talk to Tawny about it. And then we've got just like all of the Book of the Month books that I need to catch up on. So like that's the situation for me. So yeah.
Oh yes, I really want to read Ariadne, which was my May book of.
I'm very behind.
Was it April book of the month? It's been a while. I want to read it.
The only one I've read on time is People We Meet on Vacation. And I'm behind on all of the other ones. So yeah, I want to catch up on all of those.
Did you pick your next one?
I did.
I picked 56 days.
I also picked 56 days.
It's going to be good. Maybe.
Is it? I don't know. I'm skeptical. Like it was the one that like sounded the best, but
me too. Yeah. Like I wasn't super enthused about any, but that one sounded the best.
It's not like June where I took almost all of the options as add-ons. Like, yeah.
There were so many good choices for June. I didn't do any add-ons, but I thought about it heavily.
Hey, Book of the Month, you should sponsor us since we talk about you constantly.
Yeah, Book of the Month. Hit us up. Please. Thanks.
Okay. Well, Tawny, that was so good. I have so many new recommendations that I'm excited to read and a couple of books to avoid with a passion. I'm excited for you to read The Alien Smut very much.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
Thank you to our listeners. We appreciate you for sticking around this long. We are shocked.
Yeah.
We are in awe. Wow.
We're not worthy.
We're not worthy. You should have left a long time ago.
To us.
Yeah. So, if you didn't have fun, don't be mean to us. But you can if you want, any of you. We prefer to not be perceived. Please unsubscribe. Please unlike the podcast. Do not tell your friends.
Don't tell your friends.
But do leave a positive review so that we feel good about ourselves. Thanks.
Yes. We respond very well to positive reinforcement.
We like that. You can you can find us on
no constructive criticism is accepted.
None. Only positive vibes. You can find us on Instagram at BookeringPod and on Twitter at also BookeringPod. Wow, do we have content there? Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe we will by the time this episode happens.
We could. I don't know.
You don't know. We don't know. No one knows.
No one knows.
It's a mystery. Go find out.
It's a mystery. You can go check right now. But individually, you can find me at CatZellNerd on Instagram and Goodreads and Twitter. And Tawny?
You can find me at Tawny Waterman on Twitter and Instagram and also Goodreads.
You can also not find us and leave us alone in peace if you desire.
I'm scared of strangers and social interaction, so it would be best if we didn't interact.
Yes, great. An incredible podcast sign off. Thanks again, and have a good reading time. Bye.
Yes.